Hi everyone, welcome to this video. Today I am going to give you a simple introduction to full stack web development using Java. In full stack web development means working on both front end, which is what users can see, and the back end, which is the server side, which handles the logic, data and security. A full stack developer understands how the entire web application works from start to finish. Okay, in this today's class, we are going to know the basic things before going to the full stack web development course. So first we understand the basic things. So let us start. First we understand the basic things of web development. Okay, first we'll see, so what is web? Okay, so what is web? Do you have any idea? You have noticed spider web like this? Yes, it is a spider web. So their thread is connected, and because of these teeny connections the whole web becomes strong, right? So in the same way the internet also works like a gained web. So here millions of computers are connected, millions of mobiles, phones, servers and devices are connected with each other across the world, right? So this is a huge network of connection is what we call the World Wide Web. Okay, now you understand the word of web, right? So let us move on next topic. So this is the definition of web. So web is a collection of interconnected documents and resources accessed via internet using browsers. So the term web typically refers to the World Wide Web. So the World Wide Web is a global information system which allows users to access interlinked documents and resources over the internet. So using this World Wide Web, you can access the resources, documents or any data through the internet, right? So for this reason we are using the web. So it is a vast network of websites, web pages and other digital content that can be accessed through a web browser. So for this documents or content or data sharing, so we uses protocol HTTP or HTTPS protocol, so which is used to transfer the information. So which is a hypertext transfer protocol. The full form of HTTP is hypertext transfer protocol. S means security. So you can see in the internet when you are searching the websites and other web pages, so you are typing the URL, right? There you can see the word HTTP. So it is a protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. It is a communication protocol. So using this communication protocol, you are going to communicate with the other web pages. So examples: websites, web applications, e-commerce platforms. So these are all different types of web applications, right? Now you understood about web, web page, website, right? So now let us understand what is web development. Okay, so web development means, so we are going to develop or creating or maintaining the websites. So it is including everything from designing to site looks and making users to works properly in the internet. So when we are creating web development means, so starting from creating the web page, so are designing the web pages through up to when we are hosting the website or web application in the server. So complete this process we call it as a web development. Okay, so it has mainly two parts. First one is front end and another one is back end. So front end means which is the client side, which users see and interact with the system or browsers, like there you can see the designs, buttons, forms and all, right? So those are all designed using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, some of the frameworks like React.js, AngularJS and many other frameworks. And backend when we come to backend, it is a server side. So behind scenes means whatever you can see the front end. So when you click some button, so behind some process will going on. Those things are happening in the backend side. So behind scenes, databases, servers, and logics that makes the website functions properly. So it uses the Java, PHP, Python, Node.js, and many other programming languages. So now you have understood about web development, right? So now let us understand the final keyword, full stack web development. So now you understood web development. Now we'll understand what is full stack web development. So it is having the stack of steps to creating the web application. Okay. So you can see here it's the system which is the front end development, and another system which is the back end development. So front end development we call it as the client side. So it is having the user interfaces or visuals through web browsers. So these are all the things we are doing in the front end. So on back end, that we call it as a server side. There we are going to create the back end logic and databases, APIs. So these are all things we combine and we call it as a full stack web development. Okay. So what are all the technologies we are used to build this full stack web development? In front end development, so we are using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and many other frameworks like React.js, Next.js, and Vue.js, AngularJS, many more. So same way, back end side also we are using some of the programming languages like for building, for creating logics, PHP, Python, Ruby, Java, C++, many other languages we are using. So which is convenient for our project requirement. So next we are using the databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB. So which is required for our project. So that we are going to choose. These all things we call it as the full stack web development. Okay, so now you understood the technologies, right? So in front end development, so we are using the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This just brief out the same thing. Back end development, we are using the programming language as well as databases, and after that we are using some of the tools like third party libraries. So third party libraries, like if we are using a Java, we are going to use framework like Spring Boot. If we are using Python, we are going for the framework, some other Python related Django framework and all. So if we are using PHP, we are using the Laravel framework. If we are using the front end technology, React.js and Bootstrap, some other tools we are using. So next is version control system. So version control system for maintaining the versions of projects, we are using the GitHub, Gitbucket. So next deployment will also come. In deployment we are using cloud, AWS, and other CS fundamentals also we should know. So like data structure and system design and deployment. So in deployment part we will learn about AWS or Azure. So these cloud deployments also we will learn in this full stack web development. It includes from scratch starting development to end deployment, so with the all advanced tools. So this is all full stack development steps. Okay, so in this full stack development, front end and back end is there. So client side, these are all the technologies: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, Tailwind, CSS, React, and Next.js are there. So backend Java, Python, PHP, APIs, but here we are using Java, so we choose Java for backend. So for front end we are using first basic things: HTML, CSS, JavaScript or TypeScript. So with the CSS framework Tailwind, along with the Next.js or React.js, we can choose for framework. So next deployment for Git hosting on the server, AWS, Azure we are going to choose. In full stack development, so from end to end complete problem solving process, we call it as a full stack developer. Okay, so now we understood what is full stack development. So before starting the full stack development, some of the technological words, so which we are using in the network or application development. So just understand, brief out the things, then we'll start the front end technologies. Okay, so in web development we understand some basic terminologies like protocol, HTTP, internet, TCP, IP, DNS, DNS providers, web hosting providers, client server technology, and different programming languages. compilers and interpreters. These are the basic things. If we know, then it is easier for developing the programming our web applications. So first we understand protocol. So protocol is the set of rules to communicate multiple devices or to any other devices. It's just like a transmission media. So device 1 know the language Kannada, device 2 if a person 1 know the language Kannada, person 2 should also know the language Kannada, because if they are communicating they should know the language or English, any language. Okay, so they should know the language if they are talking with the same language. In the same way, two systems are communicating, they should know the rules of that protocol. So same way in the system also, if we are communicating with a web application, we should know the protocols. Okay, protocol means it is a set of rules that define how to communication happen between two devices. So every machine programmed with a protocol communicate. Devices agree to common protocol before they communicate. So what is internet means? So internet means multiple devices are connected through single wire communication. Internet is a network where a group of computers connected together with a single wire, so that we call it as a internet. And system connected in the internet network are able to communicate with each other and exchange data. So when we connected with a cable internet connection, so we can communicate easily and exchange data also. So you can connect internet, access other computers to exchange data, TCP/IP protocol. So in this TCP/IP protocol, you will have the HTTP protocol. So TCP/IP protocol, I think you can learn, you already learned in networks, right? So networks, you are having the TCP/IP protocol. There are 7 layers. So in that application layer, we are using the hypertext transfer protocol, so which is a communication protocol. You should know the basic things of communication protocol of HTTP, because you are going to use web development. Web development means it is a web application anyone can access through the internet to communication purpose, right? So for that reason you should know the HTTP protocol. So no need of learning deep in TCP/IP protocol. If you want to learn, you can learn. Next we'll understand IP address. I think you know every system is having unique number. So that unique number, why we are using for the system, because in a world we are having multiple or billions of computers, right? So every computer is identified by its unique number. So that unique number we call it as IP address. Okay, so every computer has a unique address in the internet, we call it as a IP address. This stands for internet protocol, so communication between the systems. So like phone numbers in every system, so every computer in the internet has a unique IP address, and TCP/IP protocol used to connect and communicate between multiple systems, right? So next we will understand DNS. DNS means domain name system. So domain name system we are using for a system. Why? Because we could not able to remember the IP addresses every time. So for that reason only, so this IP, instead of IP addresses, we created the domain names. Domain names means, so common word, English word we can remember. Amazon.com, so Flipkart.com. So these are all the names. Netflix. You are going to search the keywords, not the IP address, right? So for that reason only, humans can remember only names, not the digits, right? So for the same reason, domain name system came into the system. Okay, here IP addresses are connected with the domain name systems. So domain name systems are, domain names are host names, we call it as a host names that we buy from the domain name systems. Okay, so hosting providers or DNS providers will give these domain names, and we also need a space to host our web application in the internet, right? So that space also we are buying with the hosting providers. So and domain name providers will sell the domain name, unique domain name. So because everyone will search with the unique name, so if many people are using the same domain name, means we cannot reach the exact web application or the site, right? So for that reason we are giving the unique name. So that unique name is provided by some domain name providers, so that we buy with the domain name providers and put with the our web application. So these are all the different domain name providers. They will provide domain name, and hosting providers will provide the space to host your web application. Okay, so this domain name server, what it will do, it will do to communicate your domain name with the hosting IP address. So whatever your system IP address located your web application, so that system IP address, it is going to connect with the domain name. Okay, so this DNS stands for domain name system or host name. It is easy to remember named assigned to IP addresses in the computer network, right? So it helps to convert host name to IP address. So it is connected with the domain name system. It is going to convert your domain name into IP address. So you have to purchase domain name to map IP address with the domain name. So hypertext transfer protocol is a protocol, so use it to communicate with the other devices. So like HTTP application protocol that used to transfer data like images, videos, files or any other thing in the internet. Okay, so this is a protocol using the TCP IP protocol, which is used to transfer packets between systems. Okay, so next is client server technology. So you understood about domain name systems, protocol and internet, right? So next is client server technology, which is needed in the web development, because clients are going to access the application through browsers. Applications are stored in the server side, that we call it as a server, and clients are going to access the application through browsers, so that we call it as a client server technology. So they are going to communicate. If you are going to access the web application like amazon.in, so you go and search in the browser amazon.in or Amazon keyword, right? So it will open the Amazon website. So when you type the URL and click enter, so that request will go to the server. Okay, so then server will respond with the Amazon home page. So this is the client server communication. So client side, like amazon.com, if you are searching from requesting, so then server side what happens, so server will provide so the home page of the amazon.com. Okay, so this communication happened between HTTP protocol. Okay, so you can access through image, audio, video, anything, whatever that created in that web page. Okay, so next I think you understand web. It refers to websites, web pages, anything works like internet. Development refers to building application from scratch. So this we call it as the web development. So it includes front end and back end. So this front end development and back end development, we call it as a web development. Okay, these things you understood. So next we'll understand programming languages. There are different programming languages. So programming languages, scripting languages and markup languages. First we'll understand these things. So programming languages like C, C++, Java, these we call it as a programming languages, and scripting languages like PHP, Python, JavaScript and Ruby, these are all scripting languages, and markup languages also there, HTML and XML. So these C, C++, Java are programming languages. These are all used as compilers, and PHP, Python, JavaScript, Ruby are all interpreter programming languages. Those uses the interpreters. So why we need this compiler? So when we write the program, computer will understand only machine code, right? So for that reason, the compiler programming languages are compiled at once and then it converted into machine code. Then only your computer will understand what you written in your code. Okay, so for that reason, programming languages uses compilers, and interpreter languages are built on the top of programming languages. So for that reason, it is using interpreter. Interpreter are executed line by line. So when we are compared to compiler and interpreter, compiler programming languages are faster than this interpreter programming languages. So next is markup languages. Those are all just you are going to mark up the things using HTML and XML. Okay, so next, what are the main applications we are learning full stack web development? So we can build a web development, we can build a e-commerce platforms, social media platforms, content management system. So if we are learning a Java, means you can build a enterprise applications like banking applications and many other biggest applications like Amazon agirbodu or any other applications. Okay, So next is content management system, finance, banking applications, healthcare applications, educational technology applications, real-time applications also you can build, like travel applications, travel booking. So like those example also you can see, and even hospitality platforms, gaming platforms, even IoT applications also you can build using this full stack web application. So next, this is a complete path of roadmap for web development. First we learn HTML, CSS, some of the frameworks like Bootstrap, Tailwind, and JavaScript. Next to framework like React. Backend technology we are using SQL, MySQL, Java, and Git tool for version control system, Spring Boot library, MongoDB database, and last finally deployment. So these are all the path we are going to learn a web applications. So I think you have understood the basic things of full stack web application. So this is all about full stack web application. Thank you.